Computex 2026 coverage is proudly sponsored by Fantex, with support from Asus ROG, NZXT, Haven, and Cooler Master helping us bring you wall-to-wall coverage direct from Taipei. All right, Computex 2026 is starting to wind down, and we're ending it none other with Cooler Master. I don't know when this video is going live. Doesn't matter. Cooler Master's got some amazing stuff here to show. It shows why they're definitely one of the strongest brands in the PC space. But before we go into their demo room, I want to show you guys, they got some mods out here from different builders that have built, and I want to shout this one out specifically. I did a video showing LiquidHaus's EXO frame, and this is a mod that they did right here. You remember the engine build I tried to do forever ago and I just kind of gave up on? This is their implementation of that. Like, this is their own V8 build, kind of incorporating the V8 air cooler, which we'll be showing in inside in a second here. But the amount of air that's actually coming out of this is kind of nuts. Like, you hear that? It is fully functional. So this is really cool. All 3D printed, all designed and manufactured in-house for them. So I also like the metally texture on it. But I just had to give a shout out to LiquidHaus and show like the kind of stuff that they're doing. All right, but now we got to look at what Cooler Master's doing. So follow me. Okay, so if you take a look at the room right here, it's busy and it's noisy, so we're gonna do the best that we can. But they've got a lot of stuff on display, some stuff that's kind of currently existing, some stuff that is coming out very soon, and some stuff that is very prototype and kind of looking for your guys' feedback. So let's go ahead and walk around this way. Cooler Master is not a brand I think you think of when it comes to expandable water cooling, but that's something they're trying to change. I know that this isn't water cooling and I just kind of mentioned it, but this is something that's early prototype called the MasterFlow. And it's really interesting. So the concept here is, you've got your modern graphics cards. Almost all of them have some sort of flow-through fan style on there. And the concept is that heat can be picked up by your CPU cooler. It can potentially, depending on the graphics card, could potentially add heat. I know that this is something that Steve tested with the Schlieren camera back when the 3080 was new. The 3080 is a 320 watt card. We are at 600 watt cards now, and there could definitely be warm air making its way into the cooler, and it can actually have an adverse effect on your CPU cooler. Why go through that? So what the MasterFlow does here, as you can see, is it is adjustable based on length, because obviously every graphics card has a different length. It is designed to sit in the slot right above your card, and it has this blower style fan right here, which is intended to pick up the air that is coming through the GPU and exhaust it out the rear. So you wouldn't have heat coming through, heating up the chassis. Well, you'll have some heat because there's axial fans, but you won't have that heat making its way into the top chamber of your CPU or your case, being picked up by your CPU cooler. And because the top slot usually in modern motherboards is your M.2 slot, and that thickness added right here could be an interference with the M.2 slot. So you see you have this notch right here that's intended to add clearance for your M.2 coolers, if there's any right there, and obviously CPU coolers. This is a mock-up. It's not a product that exists yet. It's something that I think is really neat and probably needed, to be honest. Man, we made such big strides on getting away from blower coolers, and now we kind of have to implement them back into builds to be able to, take care of some of the heat that this stuff can generate. One of the things Cooler Master is known for, especially if you're old school, is the half series or the high airflow, where they were one of the first companies to ever throw a 200 millimeter fan, 2 of them in the front of a case. This is the half 2500. What you see right here on the front is two 220 millimeter by 40 millimeter LCP fans. The LCP basically is it's like a fibrous plastic. That's why it has this really neat kind of a shimmer look to it. It's about strength and rigidity. But these are 40 mil by 220 mil. You have 2 of them in the front of this case right here, creating a massive amount of airflow. Obviously you have a GPU support right here, which is on this rod that can be adjusted in, out, up, down. But you also have a 180 millimeter by 40 millimeter fan. This is the Mighty 40 V180. Mighty 40 F220, so you can kind of get an idea of what the naming scheme means. But 2 220 millimeter front intakes, 1 180 millimeter exhaust fan. But on the top, if you see right here, they've got this rail system, which it's fully adjustable so that you can fit 120, 140, I guess 160, and 180 millimeter fans. I don't think you need any top exhaust on this case. I truly don't. If you're running an AIO, sure. You could obviously slide this over and fit at 360. I'm not sure if a 420 will fit. Looks can be deceiving sometimes in these big rooms on whether or not, we might have to test that. Heck, they didn't even know if 4 360s would fit in their 360 stage, and we made it work. So who knows, anything's possible if you try hard enough. but you do have this adjustable rail, and these also slide on the rails so that you can always make sure that your fans are where you want them. It's kind of neat too. You could mount your fans to there, and then you could slide them forward and back to where you want them to be. But they want to make sure that the cable routing system right here is not hindering airflow to the CPU cooler. So there's actually some vents. They're like, kind of look like gills on the side right here, like shark gills. So this allows some of that air to actually make its way through. I know it's kind of hard to see, but yeah, right here. So some of that air is captured and then goes right through where the cables are. There's also this kind of a ramp on the bottom right here that's designed to capture a lot of the bottom intake and scoop it up towards the GPU, but it's not fully closed off. The bottom can still divert some of that air towards any drives that may be mounted in the bottom and your PSU in the bottom. So the HAF 500 is pretty awesome in my opinion. It definitely builds upon that legendary high airflow history that Cooler Master is kind of known for, and has really stepped it up with now what appears to be like the largest consumer fan ever put into a desktop PC. In fact, let's see it in action. So here is one that is kind of put together. This is an interesting case though. Come over here to this side, Nick. I want to show the front is different because of the fact that this is the Project HAF 500. Not exactly the same as that's over there, but the top is the same. The front's a little bit different. Has the fan material on there, as you can see. It even has some dust on there, obviously. But you can see right there the two 220 millimeter fans. Don't put your fingers or any other appendages in there unless you really hate yourself. Anyway, so they also have some cool stuff here that they're planning on offering the public. You have a gauge that's an internal temperature and a decibel meter, and it is working. Check this out. So anyway, that's just obviously measuring the inside volume, but it picked up some of that. But go ahead and check out the airflow on using the smoke. Kind of, I know I'm not the first, and I won't be the last, but I like their smoke machine better than mine, honestly. So anyway, let's check out smoke right here. Look at how far away it's actually picking up. Look at this. So there should be absolutely no doubt that 220 millimeter fans is actually doing its job. Look at this. There you go. Now look at the exhaust in velocity, if you will. Look at this. Now to be fair, it is running at full speed right now because it is obviously a demo, but you have full adjustability, obviously. They are PWM fans. Okay, so these right here are the MasterDim active coolers. This is a collaboration with G.Skill RAM. Not something that's like really necessary, but it's not a harmful thing to have. DDR5 can run hot, especially with high mega transfer DIMMs. They run 1.4 volts plus. Heat is an issue for any sort of ASIC. So this is the, like I said, the MasterDim cooler that they came up with. It is an active cooler. You can see there's a tiny little fan on there, and they actually have a little demonstration right here. I'll just go ahead, and on this side there is a fan. It's pretty intense actually. There is more velocity than I really kind of expected for that tiny little fan. So look at that, that's kind of nuts. Anyway, it does have lighting on there as well. You can see right now it's sort of set to like the Cooler Master purple color. There is a kind of a drawback though. There is some compromise because of how thick they are. You can see we have two of them slotted in right here, and this is a 4-DIMM slot. Because they're so thick to account for obviously the heatsink and the fan and the chamber, you would only be able to run 2 of these in a 4-DIMM motherboard. But if you're running an enthusiast board that only has 2 DIMMs, say for like extreme overclocking, which is where you might need to cool your RAM, because usually you're overclocking RAM as well, they may not fit because those DIMMs tend to be as close together as only 2 of these slots. So that's something to keep in mind if you're looking at going active cooler route like that. Okay, let's talk budget. The Q300L, the original one, it's been around a long time now. It's a little long in the tooth. We see it at Micro Center all the time. It's one of their, actually it is their most successful product in terms of sales. It was a $40 case. It was extremely popular. And as you can see right here, this is now the Q300L V3. It is coming in at $45, so they've managed to make a massive amount of improvements to it and only increase the price $5. You can see it fits full ATX board. It's got this really kind of a neat circular grill mesh, if you will. It's got the same, well, not the same, but it's a new
system here where you can actually take the front I/O and move it to the new position on the top. And you can see there's a cutout for it here in the fan filter. So if you want to do that, then you just flip the fan filter over, line it up, and there you go. So you can make it top or bottom mounted. But the fact that it has, you know, tempered glass side panel, the other one was a plastic panel. So now we're up to tempered glass side panel. PSU mounts in the bottom, really nothing too special about it. That's what makes it great, is the fact that it's just a smallish form factor case that only comes in at 45 bucks. But they heard a lot of people saying, man, that'd be a great case to put on its side when they talk about the V1. So they actually include these little rubber feet that go on the back panel. So if you want to make it a flat style case, you can do that. So just little things like that make, you know, not the types of design philosophies you see in a $45 chassis. But we also have another version over here that's a total of $10 more. So this one's, I believe they said $50 or $55, I can't remember. It just has a couple of extra accessories to it. So it has these top handles that are structural integrity, so you can pick it up and carry it by that. They also have this headphone holder. So these holes that you see in the front also have some utilitarian aspects. So this just pops out. You got these two holes right here in the mesh. If you want to now flip this over, you can now mount your headphone holder right there. So little things like that, you know, that are making their way into these designs. We already know the market's crazy, so you kind of have to offer more at the same price or keep the price as close as possible to previous products, especially in this market. Okay, so this is the MasterFan A. A stands for aluminum. This is an all aluminum construction, aluminum frame, aluminum blades, and because of the fact that it being aluminum means that they can get ultra tight tolerances with it in reducing the gap between the frame and the blade, which will also increase static pressure. This thing is weighty too. I wish I had a scale on me. But they say that this massively increases the amount of airflow and pressure that the fan is able to create. So what they have here is a demonstration of the MasterFan A and a more traditional plastic fan. So we'll go ahead and demonstrate that first right here. So we put some smoke in the front. Look at the exhaust that's gonna be blowing out that hole right there. And hopefully, so you can see right behind him, his black shirt's actually making it perfect. You can see the velocity it's sending out, right? Now if we look at the MasterFan A over here, we should see, look at that, much more aggressive exhaust. So you can see it's pushing it out several meters. I don't know if you can see, it's pushing the air out all the way over there. And it's doing it through this hole, which some of that air is obviously getting caught inside the box because it comes out as a cone. But just to compare over here again, you can see it makes it out about 1 meter and then kind of dissipates and rises. But if you look over here again, you can see just how far out. You can see just how far out it's actually moving. And these are running at the same RPM. So MasterFan, I love aluminum fans. It's just, especially with the finish that you can get on there, this silver, this is just so cool looking. No idea what these are gonna cost. Aluminum's obviously a lot more expensive to manufacture than plastic, so it's gonna be a premium product, but it's hopefully gonna give you premium results. So it's available in 120 and 140, and yes, it does come with these grills to protect your finger because they're metal. They're gonna have a lot less give than plastic does if you happen to stick your finger in there. So definitely worth pointing that out. Let's go ahead and talk about their 3D heat pipe real quick. That's actually a pretty interesting project that they've been working on to make air coolers more efficient overall without having to make them bigger. Right now, the whole concept of air cooler is to have higher TDP, you have to make it bigger. Well, they found a way through their 3D heat pipe that that's actually not true anymore. So here's the 3D heat pipe right here. So what you might notice is rather than just having them go up to 2 towers and then putting a fan in the middle and a pusher fan, they have another pipe right here in the middle. And this is Cooler Master patented technology. Here's an example of it right here. They've put these heat pipes in the center right on top of the hottest spots on the die, if you will, or the IHS. And this is what they incorporated in their new V8 cooler. This is the same cooler you saw in that LiquidHaus build I showed you earlier. But what they've been able to do here is essentially get the performance of a dual tower cooler in a much, much smaller package. So this allows them to be able to just have more heat pipes where they matter in a more condensed layout. Now, in terms of cooling capability, when it comes to an Intel CPU, they're saying about 90 watt TDP per pipe. And then when it comes to AMD CPU, about 70 watt TDP per pipe. So that's allowing them to just get amazing results. Now, if we look right here, the top cover does come off if you just don't like the engine aesthetic. And then this is what you would see right here, just more of an industrial kind of a bare aluminum look. Just want to point out, like, some people may just not be into or or feeling that whole V8 aesthetic, you can remove the whole intake manifold and valve cover look. But these are not even running the A-frame. These are plastic fans. So if you wanted to put the other fans on this, you could get even more potential performance out of it. So you can see on the graphic right here how the idea is that there's 95% plus fin utilization on the 3D heat pipe. You can see over here with the standard heat pipe how the middle stays cool and only the outsides get warm because of the fact that there's just not an efficient transfer of heat. I mean, the fan is, somebody dropped the smoke machine. The fan is pushing so much air through, it's almost like it's dissipating the heat before it can actually spread, making it essentially very inefficient. But they actually have it on demonstration right here, so we'll see how well we can do this. So here it is right now, pointed at the 212. Now you can see the green right there is obviously brightest on the edges of the fan, and you're showing the hot spot literally is on one of the side heat pipes. So you can see just how much of a differential there is across the cooler. But if you look over here on this side, you can see as it adjusts, there is a much more even distribution of heat. You can even see the heat pipes in the center, and now look, now it's showing the center of the cooler actually has the warmest portion. So it's clearly doing its job. And it's a good thing to be able to get better cooling in a smaller footprint, because one of my biggest gripes about giant dual tower coolers is they overhang on top of your RAM, you have fans that interact with potentially hitting the RAM, or it just means they don't fit in that many cases. So seeing something like this that has a height of, I'm guessing approximately 160 millimeters, I don't know the exact amount. Obviously it has a little extra height because of the decorative piece on top. But if you found that maybe your case was a little bit smaller form factor where that interacts, you can actually remove it like we showed. But having something that is not much bigger than, say, a 212, it's actually pretty impressive. In fact, yeah, there's a fair amount of heat on the top of that. But even if we look down, like if we look at it at kind of a down angle, I know it's kind of hard to see, you can see how it is definitely cooler in the middle than the sides. But over here, you can see the fin array is fairly uniform. But I still love how it shows that center pipe is the hottest pipe because, again, it is right on top of the hottest part of the IHS. Okay, so this is our mock-up of the G11M Concept AIO. These are metal fans as well, like they're basically the A-frames. And they're hooked up, this is probably the beefiest, chunkiest style AIO top I've ever seen. So they have their AIO in here, but also attached to it is this massive heat sink that's designed to pick up heat as well. And you've got a massive downfire fan that is doing two things. One, it's cooling some of that heat that's being picked up directly at the source before it ever even gets to the radiator. And then this downfire fan has air that is kind of deflected through the heatsink as well, because this whole thing is a heatsink, not just the top. All of this is also the heatsink, but some of that air makes its way down and blows into the peripherals and other SoCs that are attached around the CPU itself. A lot of times AIOs, people put in an AIO and then they go, okay, cool, my heat's going over there, but they forget they have to cool the components like the RAM and the VRMs and all that around the CPU. So having this massive downfire fan is really nice. AIOs will often incorporate a really small one. But look, if you've gone with an AIO, you still have the whole air tower worth of volume that you can work with. So why not have something happening there? So this is what they came up with, and this is pretty amazing to see. I still like the really nice gold and metal, like gunmetal aesthetic on this. But this is it. So you can see right here, this is part of the, it's part of their AIOs. It's pretty standard, 30 mil, but again, we have 30 mil fans as well with the MasterFan A's. And then, yeah, you can hear the density of this. I mean, most AIOs don't sound like that when they tap a table, but in this, yeah, that is pretty nuts if you ask me, but yeah, pretty cool. This top is magnetic on here. So it's nice to see someone go, hey, you know what? There's a whole empty space right there we can do something with, and that's what they came up with. So earlier I said Cooler Master's not really known for, like, I don't want to say not known for water cooling, because obviously they have the AIOs and stuff, but this is a more component kind of aspect that they're working on here. So this is their 360 Squared Radiator. It's two basically 180 millimeter fans. I don't know how to explain it really. It's like if you were to cut this in half, it'd be two dual 180 millimeter fan radiators, but they're connected, right? And then they're designed to use 4 of their 180 millimeter fans. That's a lot of cooling. So as you can see right here, they've actually been able to incorporate this in the Cosmos build that's over around the corner. And so they're actually using a pretty solid amount of radiator space without using traditional locations. You can see here how they're showing they have their fabric braided cable, almost like cables, tubes right here. And then we have some of their water block designs. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I think that this is aesthetically very pleasing. I do like the matte black. I like the kind of a bronzy light gold color right here. This is for a Threadripper, obviously, potentially Xeon, I guess. You can see our hair has sliding rail adjustability. It's just very, very pleasing and aesthetically nice to look at. Now you can see the internal diameter is very, very small, so I'm kind of curious as to what the flow could potentially be like. But same thing with GPU. This is a very, holy mother of God, heavy. Okay, this is the heaviest block I've actually ever picked up. But this would be right here. This is called the Master Core. They do support certain SKUs on 5090 level. Look, it makes sense. I hear people like, I wish I had water blocks for my 5070s and this. You don't need them. You just don't. I know you're enthusiasts like, I want to put a water block on it. But it makes no sense to dump, $300-400 on trying to put a water block on your 5070 when you could have spent that money and then gotten a better GPU. It just doesn't make sense. So for me personally, it being only offered for 90 tier makes a lot of sense, but that's because they're targeting workstations, they're targeting maybe local servers or racks type of mounts and stuff. So it is intended to allow your workflow, especially if you're using your GPU for your workflow on modeling or whatever your GPU encoding is doing, to keep it as cool as possible, keep the clocks as high as possible, keep the performance as high as possible. So for this being kind of like their first forte into water cooling stuff, I think they're doing it very nicely. I think some of the water cooling stuff we see on the market these days is just ugly and gaudy, and I do like the very simplified look of their Master Core stuff. Now, obviously we can't talk about 5090s without talking about the obvious melty cables that have been happening ever since the 4090 was out. That's why Cooler Master's really excited to show their GPUShield built into their power supplies, and they even got like a little demonstration board, and we'll show you guys that and what happens if it senses something's wrong with your cable to make sure it protects your stuff and you don't have to have a melty RMA situation. Okay, so this is their game they have set up to basically demonstrate what happens if you have complete dropout of certain cables. You can see right now the system's not under load, so there's only like 1 amp per wire. They're gonna run firm-arc. This is a 5090, right? 5090, yes. So now we're under full load. You can see our amp draw is increasing. Over time, this will jump up to probably as high as 9 amps, especially as the GPU gets hotter. So what GPUShield does is, you see this green light right now. So basically it's saying, hey, everything's okay with your system and there's no problems detected. If you were to say, so I have to cut the cable, right? So that one's a dummy switch. Okay, so I just cut that cable, and you'll notice that the amps that were being pulled by the graphics card have to be distributed, so now the other pins are picking up more of the slack. But because their threshold hasn't been crossed, it's not warning us. This is not ideal, but right now in this particular load test, different games, different loads will have different issues. So if we were already at 600 watts, it would be warning us immediately with one cable cut, because the amps would immediately jump to probably like 11 or 12 amps. Okay, so that one's not it. That one's not it. Okay, so now you see we're blinking. That's basically saying, hey, something's not right. You're right on the edge right here. If it's blinking right now, it's basically gonna give you a 3-minute window to kind of save your stuff and shut down. We'll talk about this being difficult to see and what they've kind of done to give you something, to be a more visual representation that you can see. But if I was to cut another one now, let's start over here. So you can see we're at 9 amps. Oh yeah, we jumped over to 13 amps right now. Still running. But now we're solid red, right? So if I kill another one, yeah, system immediately shut down. And I don't even know if I killed. Was that the right one? Did I kill it? Yeah. Okay. So I wasn't sure if that was the timer that was reached or if we killed it, but that's what it's designed to do. Now, obviously, this is in your power supply in the bottom of your tower, usually covered by a shroud, and you can't even see it. So here's what we've got over here. This is actually the GPUShield adapter cable. This is for anyone that wants to have that technology kind of built in, but then you'll be able to see the lighting right here. So this is doing all the monitoring in here. You can plug your normal cable into there and then plug this into your GPU end. This actually illuminates with the same type of color, the solid green, blinking red, and solid red that you saw on the MWE Gold power supply. So because this is, if you're running this on a Cooler Master power supply, that like the NWE Gold V4, which has that technology built into it, what will happen is, with the same sequences you just saw, if it detects something is way out of spec, it will cut power to the GPU here, but the system will remain running. It'd be equivalent to if I just pulled the power live while the graphics card's running. So this is a Cooler Master's approach to having a universal ability of kind of protecting your GPU. Or if you get one of their power supplies that have it built in, again, this is the one that's over there. It's got the LED right there. Or if we look at the Platinum V3, it's basically built in right here, like this LED bar is the same thing if you have it in a case where you can see it. Otherwise, you have right here, this is a wireless dongle that actually connects to this guy right here that gets powered by USB-C. You can mount this on your desk or something like that, because this could just plug into the back of your motherboard. You could have it somewhere where you can see it, and then you'll see that visual cue on this guy as to whether or not that's happening. Also too, this is a Qi charger. So if you had your phone that has Qi charging, you could just put it on there, that'll charge. This is a mock-up right now though. This is not the final design, it could change, but this is what they're working towards. It also feels like it's slightly magnetic because of the Qi charger in there. But yeah, we live in a world where right now, manufacturers of power supplies and cables have to try to figure out a way to overcome somebody else's problem. But you know what? It's honestly making power supplies fun again, to be honest. It's like, how is everyone approaching this problem? That's pretty much it for our coverage right now at Cooler Master. They've got a lot of stuff to show here. Obviously, they got their AIOs that are on display, a lot of different water cooler stuff, a lot of their air towers. They've got peripherals. They've got a whole lineup of cases that we didn't even show you and talk about. There's just a lot to cover. But this is why Cooler Master obviously is a powerhouse in the industry, because they approach things truly different than everyone else. They literally beat to their own drum, and I am very excited to see a lot of the designs are coming, and I'm really happy to get my hands on that half 500 because I can't wait to see what that airflow looks like when we try to see what we can do to warm it up. I don't think we'll be able to. All right, guys, thanks for watching. That's our coverage of Computex 2026. Not sure when this is going out. May have more, may not. But either way, it's been an interesting year, to say the least. Thanks for watching, guys. We appreciate your support. And as always, we'll see you in the next one.